So I'll just start off and introduce myself and a little bit about my own experience and personal takeaways from doing this program. So hello, everyone. My name is Blaine Matiku and my pronouns are she, her. This program has been so meaningful and has not only introduced me to so many amazing and ambitious people, but has allowed me to connect with these individuals on the basis of shared agitation for varied issues going on in the city. The program really reminded me of why I'm doing this work in the first place, and much of that has to do with the collectivity and the mutuality of negative and unfortunate experiences due to the inequity of our city. So I talked about so many issues in the House meetings, such as racial injustice, the cost of living crisis, the environmental crisis, food insecurity, and so many more. And though I was reminded of the real and the visceral and hurtful experiences of so many people, I was still restored of the hope that these issues are solvable and that conversations around these issues is the first stepping stone to making meaningful change. As a Black woman who was raised in an immigrant household, I've experienced hardship in so many ways. I've heard every racial slur in the book. I've been hypersexualized all my life. I've been displaced. I've been manipulated. I've been exploited in nearly every job I've ever had. And frankly, I'm sick of these experiences, and I'm sick of these encounters being the reality of so many others as well. And I'm so grateful to have found this program, as it has made me feel valued, seen, and understood for these experiences that I thought were of the fault of my own. And so Justice Summer has allowed me and other organizers to create safe environments in which people can freely share about their own lives, completely free of judgment. And I believe that it is through these shared stories where strength can be claimed and solidarity can be found. And yeah, I'll pass it on to Alina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alina, and I use she, they pronouns. And just like Blaine said, these spaces that we've all created together through hosting and attending House meetings has been invaluable. I feel like I've been seen and understood in ways that I genuinely never thought were possible. And one thing that I've really noticed is throughout our entire lives, we've been so isolated. We've been told over and over again that our experiences are singular and independent. But through all these House meetings, one thing that I've really come to realize is that I'm not alone in my struggles, you know? For example, when I used to work at McDonald's, a guy threw a milkshake at me once and he called me a stupid immigrant. And while I was mopping up this stupid milkshake from this stupid guy, I was thinking to myself that, wow, this is my bad luck, you know, this sort of stuff never happens to anyone. I'm so alone in this. And, 15-year-old me didn't even know how to process that emotionally, let alone try and stand up for myself, But over the years, I've really come to realize that everyone who's worked a minimum wage job, every racialized worker has an experience just like that one, and we're, like I was saying, we're really not alone in all of these struggles. And these terrible experiences, I got racks and racks upon them, okay? They're my motivation, okay? There's what keep me going in my organizing work and how I remind myself to keep going and keep pushing, because I don't want to let the scared, anxiety-ridden teenager in me down. And I don't want to keep my head down anymore. So I haven't been.
That was beautiful, Lena. Thank you so much for sharing. We have a super exciting agenda for this meeting. We will be hearing from a number of organizers that made this event possible and who've been working really hard to build community and connections around the issues that are most important to the people of Vancouver. We'll also decide on the initiatives and the priorities regarding racial and economic justice in Vancouver with connections to organizations that are actively doing this work.
Yeah, and just like Blaine said, we're here to celebrate all of that amazing work that we all put in together and decide on what we're going to be fighting for in the next coming months. First, we want to start by introducing Tanya Webking, who's going to be doing a land acknowledgement. So Tanya, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Tanya Webking, and I am Dene German from the Tlicho Nation. I have called the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh territory home for off and on for 30 years. I just want to take this time to acknowledge, National Indigenous Peoples Day is incredibly important. It's incredibly important for us to come together as an Indigenous community in pride and celebration. It's something that I never got to grow up to see the new generation coming up and fighting for change and for equity, decolonizing all of the systems that you've been talking about and that we will be talking here. That's decolonial work. And each and every one of you is here to do that work. I am also a settler on these lands as an Indigenous woman. So I try to walk in a good way and to honor our host nations. So there's a lot of ways to show allyship, and definitely in a movement like this, I've been smudging for us for this evening. And I'm just very excited to have conversations around how we can provide healing for the land and for the people that live here, and to break down colonial structures of power that continue to impose violence and economic and spiritual damage to not just Indigenous people, but all BIPOC peoples on these lands. So thanks everyone for being here. Masi Cho, Haichka, Hai, Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Tanya. That was a really powerful land acknowledgement, so thank you. Violence, poverty, and homelessness, systemic racism, and settler colonialism, they're all so interlinked, and addressing them needs to go further than just words. It needs to take form of an action. And that's the main reason why we're here today. As organizers on stolen land, we all have a responsibility to stand in solidarity with the Indigenous peoples of whose land that we occupy, and so we have to support their demands, including land back, reparations, and decolonization.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tanya, and thank you, Alina, as well. So you're all here because you're connected to Justice Summer in one way, shape, or form. Justice Summer is an organizing program focused on building power around varied social and political issues through a method of organizing called the House Meeting Campaign. And so the House Meeting Campaign is one of the most successful labor organizing efforts in US history. And it was started by legendary organizer Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta.
Yeah, the model is a proven base building community organizing model that has been successfully used to build organizations and their volunteer bases since the 1950s. Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez, who Blaine just mentioned, they both actually founded the United Farm Workers Association, and the United Farm Workers used house meeting campaigns to rapidly build worker and community organizations throughout the entire United States, leading to the successful nationwide grape boycott in the 1970s, among other historic farm worker victories. The United Farm Workers actually went on strike for 5 whole years. And yeah, many organizations trained by Dolores Huerta and others over the past years have continued to use house meeting campaigns to build and strengthen their organizations.
Yeah, and the house meetings are an organizing tool to build grassroots power, where one person invites their friends and their community to discuss the issues that affect them the most. How the house meeting model, it's a way of establishing a connection to create a unified network of people, to then create a movement and strengthen bonds between communities. And they're really what help us understand what communities need. So by being a part of this, we're all participating in something that is much bigger than us, with a long legacy of organizing. And this is just a small moment in an ongoing collective struggle.
Right now, our movements are struggling. Everyone, like I was saying before, everyone's isolated, alienated, and disconnected, and we don't have enough people to win the things that we need. What we have to do is get our communities engaged. We need to build solidarity between workplaces and between people and between struggles, because it makes our fight stronger. When we win, the community is involved, and when the community is involved, we win. The whole reason why we've been organizing in Vancouver over the last month and a half is because there's a lack of community and resources and support when it comes to housing justice, workers' rights, environmental issues, affordability, student struggles, and way too much more. And that's exactly why we need base building, so that we can build the collective power that we need to fight. And that's what we've been doing over the past 6 weeks with all of you. And I know you're probably wondering how many people we reached with our team. And so a little Zoom drum roll, please. We talked to over 300 people in house meetings. And most of these people are young racialized workers who've never been organized before. And over 100 of you organized your own house meetings, which is amazing. And so just take a second and imagine 300 people organized and mobilizing towards a collective goal. Imagine 300 more leaders in our community. That's so many people and so much more power. We'd now like to introduce to you guys all our fellow Justice Summer organizers. So you can now unmute yourselves, and yeah, let's start with Mary.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a Korean settler living in the East Van area. And before this program, I did not know what organizing meant at all. And in just this past 6 weeks, I was able to tap into my experiences that I felt like I should disregard completely. It's really, really scary pulling out those stories that I was taught to forget. But facing that fear and getting closer to others who have also been silenced led us to embrace those parts about us. Organizing is welcoming all parts of you, all of your experiences and emotions. So this program, Justice Summer, teaches us the tools on how to translate your experiences into beautiful stories and bringing people together to mobilize on those struggles. So what we're doing is we're challenging the idea of who we are and finding ways in which we can support each other. So I just want to kick us off by saying that thank you all so much for coming. It's honestly it's blowing my mind to see all of you in this space. And this is concrete proof that we can come together no matter what stage in life you're at. And whenever I feel like I'm going to isolate myself again, this is the moment that I'm going to remind myself of. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Kabil, do you want to go ahead?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kabil and my pronouns are they, she. And I'm really happy and inspired to see all of you today coming together in solidarity. I am a Latinx settler residing on unceded Musqueam land. And coming to this program, I was involved in social justice, and I was frustrated at the lack of direct action, but I had no hands-on experience in terms of organizing. So I have grown and learned so much about myself and the communities that speak to me since I joined. One of the things that this program has reminded me of is the significance of sharing and upholding lived experiences. I think that by connecting with people and communities through your own experiences, we are resisting, because the systems rely on this connection and alienation, especially in a city that we know as Vancouver. So I am really grateful to have had this opportunity, because it has given me the tools that are necessary to collectively create and imagine a radically different future. And so it has shown me that truly there is no formula to be an organizer, but that everyone can be one, as each of us are experts of our own realities and stories. And that is what drives mobilizing. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Kabil. That was amazing. Shelly, did you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. I'm just so grateful to have been able to connect and share this space and time with all of you here today. I don't think any of us going in expected this level of support in those that are present today and those that had work. We just want to say that we love you all. For those that don't know me, my name is Shelly. My pronouns are any and all, and I was born here to a single mom who immigrated here from the Philippines. Growing up surrounded by an apartment full of other low-income Filipino immigrants, I witnessed the struggles of our parents working multiple jobs to prepare consistent meals and afford any sort of childcare. The solution to these struggles was a collective one. The children were raised by a main babysitter and each other with the support of the rest of the building. When people cooked food, it would be shared door to door, so no one went hungry and no food went to waste. Unfortunately, due to gentrification and redevelopment, communities like this are often dispersed, leaving its members isolated and lacking this supportive structure. I organized today because I've experienced how powerful a tight-knit community can truly be, and my goal is to help create this community through the network that spans beyond a building slated for demolition. Together, we can prevent more individuals from falling through the cracks of this broken system from every cultural background. Long live international solidarity!
Long live
International solidarity!
Thank you so much, Shelly. That was beautiful. Omar, did you want to go next?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Shelly, for all that you said. That was actually really amazing and honestly related to a lot what you're saying. I myself, to introduce myself, my name is Omar. I go by he, him pronouns, and I am a child of Somali refugees. Since a young age, I've seen how economic injustices and racial hierarchies have affected me and my family. And for a long time, I didn't know what to do with this anger. It felt like no one could understand, and I was going through all these problems alone. And that's exactly what I believe that people in power want us to think. They don't want us to talk about our struggles collectively. They don't want us to share our ideas, and they don't want us to connect. And that's why I'm so happy I was a part of Justice Summer Program. Even though house meetings might seem mundane, like what does talking even do anyways? Well, let me tell you, the stories told and ideas shared, ideas shared lit something in me, and I think a lot of y'all too. I'm so happy I had this great opportunity of working with this program and meeting so many of y'all. Keep telling y'all stories and sharing ideas, and let's keep this collective work up.
Thank you so much, Omar. That was amazing. Nash, you're up next.
Hello, nice to meet you, all of you. I'm Nash. I'm one of the Filipinos in this cohort. Moving in Canada, I moved here for I think like 2 years ago. I was struggling with finding a community to hone my awareness with the new struggles that I'm about to face. I know that being part of a society requires me to recognize my responsibility to help and side with, the right sector, especially the vulnerable ones. And starting with my own race, of course, the Filipino community, I learned a lot from you guys. And I was already an activist and an organizer in the Philippines as early as high school. So I knew that the moment I have to move to Canada, I did all of my best to not let the passion die. Because the more I study and learn about the community, the more I realize that there are people out there who can barely afford 3 meals a day, or people who are being targeted, red tagged, or unjustly vilified with their own human rights. I myself actually experienced all of those, but if there's one thing that I realized, it's that all of these struggles at the end of the day made me meet amazing people that has mentored me and helped me get through all of this. So Junta Grande was really a good source for me to meet all of you. And I'm so proud that there's like over 100 people here, and all of the amazing jobs that we did were actually paying off. I was moved the same way as all of you guys were. I was moved through different stories and struggles, and I used these to inspire me to continue in what I'm doing. So I hope after this, we get to see each other again, but this time out in the actual street here in Vancouver or wherever you are, raising our placards or posters and fighting for a cause and winning it through organizing and collectivizing our struggles, just like what we did here right now at Junta Grande. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you so much, Nash. And wow, isn't my cohort the most beautiful, amazing cohort on the planet? I'm so proud of us all. But yeah, before we get into it, I just want to do a little participation. Can we get everyone to like use the little raise hand function if you hosted your own house meeting? Oh my goodness, that is so many people. See, like this is like our impact. Like a little, just 6 weeks of organizing has led to all these people putting their hands up, and I just think it is so beautiful to see.
It is. It's honestly super, super inspiring. Thank you to all the organizers who just shared. All your stories are beautiful, and all of you are needed. And yeah, so basically what we're going to do now is going to hear from some of our hosts that helped organize a house meeting, either in person or virtually. They were really successful, and personally, I'm super stoked to hear about their experiences. So first off, we're going to start with Sarah.
Hello. So I hosted two house meetings, kind of. I hosted a house meeting with some of my friends, and then I hosted a house meeting with, I'm in the education program, so I hosted one with my education peers. So they were all teachers. And in the first meeting, I noticed that the conversation kind of lean towards how education is an institution that connects to the greater institutions that we live in, and also relates to a lot of the issues that we have in Vancouver. And so we talked about that a bit more in the second meeting with all of my teacher friends. I don't know what to call them. But yeah, it was super fun, super interesting. I think everyone had a bit of knowledge that they were able to share and connections to make. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing that. Yeah, I was present for those house meetings and they were amazing. And personally, I learned so many things, like I've been a student for the majority of my life, but never really understood like the intricacies that go into all of that. And there's so many like disadvantages, and those were really brought into light during those house meetings. So yeah, thank you for sharing those. Next, we're going to hear from Aisha.
Hi guys, like Blaine said, my name is Aisha, and yeah, we co-hosted a house meeting at UBC. It was very interesting. It was very interesting and refreshing to see my perspective in other people, although they were my friends and I kind of knew some of the people there already, but just talking about that situation and like the situation that we face as Black people because we were all Black from what I remember. But yeah, so it was just very refreshing to see my struggles in other people, and I didn't feel as alone. And it was just kind of nice to feel safe enough to talk about it without feeling like I was like complaining, even like I guess it is complaining, but I don't know. But I didn't feel like a negative connotation to everything that I was saying. And I just felt really seen. And the feedback that I got from a lot of people who also attended was just like, it was really nice. It was just refreshing to be able to talk about it and just see yourself in others. So I just want to thank Blaine for allowing me the opportunity to be able to participate in this. Yeah.
Aisha, that was beautiful. And yeah, that house meeting was amazing. Like I've personally like struggled finding spaces in Vancouver for as like a Black woman, and having that was super refreshing and so mutual, the experience, which just filled me with so much joy that I wasn't alone. So yeah, thank you, Aisha. We're gonna hear from Kat next.
Hi, I'm Kat. I use any pronouns. I'm from Vancouver. I hosted a house meeting just like this past week with Omar and Mary and Sergio. And I don't know, I've recently been hospitalized under the Mental Health Act, and I wasn't lucid, and the experience was very traumatic and degrading. First, I felt like helpless, but then like through my community and the people that I know, they helped me realize that there's some hope left, and that like, if there is hope, there is hope. And that's why I want to fight, because I want to be that hope for somebody and help out other people. That's it.
Thank you so much, Kat. That was extremely moving. Next, we're going to hear from Ari.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hari Ziad, he, they, And I was super honored to host a house meeting last year and for LA Justice Summer Program. It was an easy and awesome way to be a part of a movement fighting for affordable housing in the city. I did that with Sergio. Thank you for pulling me into this, Sergio. LA is also where I'm joining from and where I've been striking along with the WGA for almost 2 months now. We had a huge rally and march today, proving that there's just so much momentum and spirit still in this fight, even after such a long time. We're fighting against corporate greed that makes it possible for the people like us who are literally at the root of everything in the film and television industry to still be able to realize this wild dream of ours as a career, because it's getting less and less possible. We're fighting for fair wages in an industry that's rapidly evolved in the streaming era without our contracts evolving along with them to sustain shorter seasons and lack of residuals for projects that are dropped online. We're fighting for greater transparency so that the streamers can't tell their investors one thing, that they're having these massive audiences while claiming to us they aren't, and devaluing our work because the data is secret. And we're fighting to ensure that those at the top aren't the only ones benefiting from record profits as they make everyone else's job shorter and less stable, our team smaller, reduce any opportunities for new and diverse voices to gain real experience and move up the ranks. We're fighting to show that real art can't be replaced by machines or AI, and to create protections because we know the artless will always try to replace us. But most of all, we're fighting to show what's possible when you have strong organizing, which you all here are now, even in the face of corporate titans. And I'm so grateful to be able to share this space with you.
Thank you so much. It was like, I feel like that strike is something that I'm hearing about online, and it was really beautiful to be able to hear that like directly from the source. So thank you so much for sharing that. And like these types of movements are only possible through like the organizing and the leadership that we saw from every host who presented right now. And yeah, and it's been really beautiful. And I feel like one thing that we've heard from all our hosts is that, like I've been saying, like the theme of the meeting is that like we are not alone in our struggles, and these meetings have resulted in such fruitful discussions and a lot of learning on both the organizers' part as well as the guests. And the whole reason why we're gathered is because all of us are over it, okay? We are tired and we want to do something instead of just complaining. And honestly, it's hard to make a change when most of us are burnt out and live paycheck to paycheck, and we're overworked, underpaid, so stressed to the point where we don't even have time to think about the systems that are putting us in these positions, let alone try to even fight against them, And many of us are stuck in survival mode and don't have the privilege to take a step back from these sorts of issues. And that kind of like relates, like the reason why I became an organizer and joined this program is because of the types of experiences that I've gone through, like the types of stuff that I've mentioned before. My family has lived in precarious rental spaces our entire lives. And I don't even remember a time when we weren't struggling financially. And I've been working since I was 15. So I've been in the workforce from a very young age, and I've experienced everything, like racism, exploitation, harassment, and way too much more. And I'm sick of and tired of of having to sit around and like wait for things to get better. And that's why I push myself to organize, like throughout the stress, throughout being like overworked and underpaid. I still push myself because again, I can't wait around and wait for things to get better. One thing that I always remind myself is that if the farm workers could organize in the worst working conditions in 1960s America, I sure as hell can organize now. And they're just proof that like change doesn't happen overnight. These fights have been going on for centuries, and it takes decades of people like us organizing because you know what? No one else is going to advocate for us. The rich aren't going to, so we have to. And it's time we step up and actually do it. And I have talked to so many beautiful and amazing people these past 6 weeks, and I've had so many different perspectives presented to me. But again, like I was saying, the one thing that has remained consistent is how similar we are in all our struggles and how exploited and tired everyone is. And that is exactly why this sort of organizing work and base building is so important, because it creates real tangible change that comes from building communities and sharing resources and actually uplifting one another. Because you know what? We deserve better, and it's time we grab better by, like, because if not us, then who? Our time is now.
Beautiful, Lena. Honestly, those sentiments were super powerful. And yeah, we're just going to continue the conversation. We're going to keep going. And so basically all the issues that we spoke about will be continued to be fight for, and we're not going to just wait. We're going to fight until we win. And so now is the time for us to decide what our top 3 issues to fight for should be. So there was a list of issues that came out as priorities during the House meetings that we've hosted. So sound off just in the chat. I'm going to read some issues out, explain them a little bit, and I want you to think about how you've faced them, if you've faced them, and which of these problems have impacted you personally or impacted your community. So first off, the cost of living / housing insecurity. So we all know that cost of living in Vancouver is completely out of control. There's a lack of support towards the unhoused community, and there's a lack of state support towards the most vulnerable. Wages are nowhere high enough for most people, and many of us have to work multiple jobs, I know I do, to be able to afford rent or food or any other sort of necessities, because the current minimum wage is not even remotely close to the living wage. Second is sexual and gender-based violence. I would like to issue a trigger warning. I will be mentioning sentiments of sexualization and sexualized violence very briefly, so feel free to mute your computer momentarily if the mention of this makes you feel uncomfortable. But I personally have experienced gender-based discrimination in workplaces, as well as just in daily life. Having worked in the service industry previously, there were many encounters of just unwanted advances or intimidation, bullying, and inappropriate comments being made towards me and other coworkers of mine. And these scenarios made me feel super silenced, and it was encouraged to not speak up about these issues and about your experiences to avoid varied consequences. Things that could come about could be pay disparities or denial of promotions or just the exclusion from decision-making processes. So yeah, sexualized and gender-based discrimination was a recurring topic in many House meetings, and the pervasive nature of this issue is an extreme hindrance on many people's lives, and it interferes with individuals' mental and physical well-beings. And so addressing gender-based violence requires a really comprehensive approach involving the integration of progressive policies, training, and just overall cultural change.
Another prominent theme throughout all the house meetings that we've held is racism and discrimination. Obviously, both Blaine and I are women of color, which means we're no stranger to racism and discrimination at all. Whether it's at school, in the workplace, or even when we're just hanging out with new people, it's always looming over us. We're always worried, is this person going to say something racist? Is that person going to do something racist? And racialized and migrant workers are disproportionately impacted by all the struggles that we've mentioned and the struggles that we're going to mention, because there are very few workplaces with adequate resources for racialized workers to ensure safety and anti-racism policies that are followed through with.
It's also really important to recognize the ways in which settler colonialism plays into this and how it has a continual presence in all of our daily lives. Black and Indigenous communities are disproportionately affected, displaced, and overlooked by all the issues we've discussed, just like how Alina was saying. And it's important to affirm these unique experiences, especially in conversation in the ongoing efforts towards justice in our city.
A fourth theme that we uncovered during our House meetings was LGBTQ and trans issues. There are too many barriers to healthcare for trans youth and queer folk. And just like the fact that the US specifically is passing all these anti-trans, anti-queer laws, and like certain people in the US are literally being prosecuted for just being themselves, for expressing themselves. And some people might think that these type of issues like homophobia, transphobia is really far away. You know, that's a US issue, but no, I mean, I know a lot of us here are UBC students or like university students, and I want to like UBC courses and classes are actually being forced online because some professors who identify as queer have been targets of violence and discrimination, you know? So, and a fifth issue that we've noticed is there's a lot of like issues surrounding immigrants. You know, many of us are also immigrants and refugees or children of immigrants and refugees. And one thing that I have noticed, I think everybody who's worked a minimum wage job would have noticed, is that like employers and people in power specifically target immigrants and migrants because they know that immigrants and migrants are going to be less likely to be aware of their rights in this country, you know, less likely to know what overtime pay is, for example. And they count on migrants and immigrants being uninformed on their rights. Many of these factors that many of us experience are things that we all, like I was just saying, that things that we all experience, you know, but we don't necessarily always recognize them as forms of exploitation or unjust because we've been taught and it's ingrained in us that these are normal encounters that we must endure, you know. We got to just keep our head down. How many of us have been told, you know, just keep your head down, you know, just it's one day, you just have to get through it kind of thing. And it's like it's infuriating, and the education around our rights needs to be improved in order for us to expand the network, this network right here, and inspire people to fight back against these injustices.
Thank you, Alina. So Sergio has put a poll on Zoom. We're going to give everyone around 30 seconds to fill it out. If everyone could contribute, that would be amazing. We want to hear all of your voices. So yeah, we can do that now. All right, thank you guys for indulging. I really appreciate it. So I'm really glad that we're all fired up. The top three that everyone's voting for: cost of living, sexual and gender-based violence, racism, and discrimination. I understand how hard it is to choose just one. At the end of the day, all of these problems are interconnected, but thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next steps. So I would like to invite some powerful organizations who are doing the work to create these changes we've all been talking about for the past 6 weeks in the House Meeting campaign. Every successful movement is built on people power, and we're in need of more people power. So now 5 organizations are going to present their work and how to get involved with them. So we ask that each speaker briefly introduce themselves as well as their organization. We're going to start with the Yarrow Society.
But hi everyone, my name is Jen, pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Volunteer and Community Engagement Coordinator. I work at Yarrow Intergenerational Society for Justice. It's a long name, so just Yarrow's fine. And we're based in Vancouver, Chinatown. I work as a volunteer and community engagement coordinator. At Yarrow, we focus on building community relationships and supporting youth and low-income immigrant seniors in both Chinatown and the downtown east side here in Vancouver. And we serve seniors to help overcome language, cultural, and financial barriers. Some of the current programs that we have going on include the Nourishing Hearts food program, where we pack and deliver completely subsidized groceries for low-income seniors who have limited mobility. Chinese Seniors Hub, where we deliver recreational events, educational workshops, and tech support to seniors. And we have a set of 8 accessibility through arts workshops going on right now for folks who are disabled and or those who think that they can benefit from access-centered art making. And so I'm here today to support and represent our volunteer program as a volunteer coordinator. As a nonprofit organization, we recognize that volunteers' passions and efforts are literally the backbone of our organization, and we're infinitely grateful for our volunteers. And so if any of these programs intrigue you and you'd like to ask questions about volunteering at Yarrow, or if any of the organizations here with us today would like to collaborate with us, or build community relations, please contact me via the email address that's entered into the chat box. I'm going to enter that in right now.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for sharing. Next, we're going to just move on to COPE.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jean Swanson. I'm a former COPE counselor. COPE has got a 50-year history of sticking up for low-income and working people. When I was on council, even though I wasn't in a majority, I was able to get a few things done, like vacancy control in the SROs, more humane treatment of people living on the streets, recognition of Muslim and Persian holidays, support for jailed immigrants and low-wage workers, tax on empty homes with the money going to social housing, few things like that. Right now, we have a really right-wing party. They've ended the living wage. They threatened community groups like Yarrow that get grants with not being able to keep quiet on political issues. They took $3.8 million out of social housing and gave it to developers. They're planning to sell off schools. They stole the belongings of homeless people, abolished the renter's office. And they're not putting in enough money for climate action. So to reverse this, we need a really strong movement-focused left party in the next election, and really strong school board candidates. We have a really strong candidate now, she's elected Susie Ma. I'm going to pass this over to Zakir, who's one of COPE's awesome young executive members, to tell you how you can get involved.
Thanks, Jean. Yeah, so thanks everybody so much. I've been seriously so inspired by just hearing all of you. You all are so incredible. So here's how you can get involved. You might have heard ABC is the government that's in power right now. They won because they lost 2 elections ago and started organizing the day after. And they got out there and they talked to all of their rich developer friends, and they raised money and they built their power. And that's exactly what we need to do. And so we, in the coming months, in the coming years before the election, are creating a base of power to be able to move into the next election and create an opportunity for activists and grassroots groups to access the levers of municipal power. And that's what COPE has always been since it was founded 50 years ago. It's been a coalition of parties and a place for people to get together and try to create the radical change that we need. And so while we are still trying to get together as a group and figure out what our campaign is going to be, in the next 2 weeks, I'll be reaching out to all of you with a way that you all can get involved. And for the interim, I invite you all to join COPE. We have a membership thing there. If money is a problem, feel free to email me and we'll figure that out in terms of making you a member. But yeah, you all are so inspiring, and let's build this movement together.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for the information. Thank you for enlightening us about what's going on in our city, the current political climate. That's super important. Yeah, next we're gonna move to Dogwood.
Great. Hi, folks. My name is Paige. I use she or they pronouns, and I'm a queer white settler and a staff organizer at Dogwood. So for those who haven't heard of us before, we are a BC-based org that brings people together to take power away from corporations and industry lobbies and win solutions to the climate crisis that keep our communities safe from climate disasters, address affordability, and uphold Indigenous rights and title. We believe that it's up to our government to keep us safe in the face of climate disasters and climate change, and that it is up to social movement organizing to push the government in the right direction. We also believe there is no effective climate action without decolonizing our society at the same time. So it's a really core pillar of our work. So this is nonpartisan, but deeply political organizing, working to build lasting power that transforms our democracy here in BC and leaves no one behind. So this summer, we are recruiting folks for our organizing program. This is structure-based climate organizing. We are fighting to end fracking, harness solutions to switch our communities from gas to clean energy, and support Indigenous folks who are defending their land from fracking and pipeline construction. And yeah, we use a variety of tactics. I think things that you all have been drawing on, like house meetings, personal storytelling, as well as canvassing, town halls, mutual aid, civil disobedience. a big variety of things. And there is room for anyone who's interested in learning a little bit more about climate action and how we can organize to win.
Thank you so much, Paige. Next, we're going to hear from the Democratic Socialists of Vancouver.
Hello, everyone. This has been an amazing experience listening to what all you have to say. Thank you very much for inviting us here. The Democratic Socialists of Vancouver is a member-based organization that supports socialist policies and actions. We operate using a working group model, and we've been around for about 3 years now, and this is working out really well. So each working group sets up their own goals and organizational structures. And currently we have working groups that comprise mutual aid. We have a labor organization, an economic justice working group, and a reading group. And we welcome new members and volunteers at all times. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Jen Efting, who's our volunteer coordinator. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's true. And I've also been very inspired by the meeting today. Really happy to be here. My name's Jen. My pronouns are she and hers. And I think it's just so important to organize. I think we won't destroy this terrible system in which we live unless we organize and get together and fight. So that is the intention of the Democratic Socialists of Vancouver, to organize so that we can reclaim our humanity, support each other to survive, and organize campaigns to really target all the injustice that we see around us. So I really encourage you, if you're interested in getting involved, we have, we're going to be doing organizing work over the summer, addressing issues of economic justice and climate justice, and looking at how those intersect in working class communities around Vancouver. And yeah, I would just ask anyone who's interested to be in touch, and we'll put a link in the chat. Thanks, everyone.
Amazing. Okay, we're going to hear from Defund 604 now.
Hi, y'all. My name is Noel. I'm from Defund 604. And our org is basically an outgrowth or an outcome of the uprisings against police brutality, and specifically like George Floyd's murder in 2020. And that is in part because the Vancouver Police Department is so fucked. They are spending over like $1 million a day. The budget of the VPD is literally over $1 million a day, and it all is like going toward terrorizing poor people, terrorizing Black and brown folks, LGBTQ people. You name it, they're doing it, which isn't cute. It's not tea. We don't love the VPD. And so we are trying to build alternatives that are going to actually keep us safe, actually protect our lives. And so one of the sort of subgroups of Defund 604 called Abolitionist Care and Belonging, ACAB, is working on putting together and building these kinds of alternatives that we're talking about. And so right now, we're doing a series of wellness checks to sort of ask and check in with folks in the community about what it is that they actually need. One of the last ones that's coming up is on June 29th. Come through. It's gonna be so cute. We're gonna have food, kiki. It's gonna be great. And we're gonna talk about what it is that people actually fucking need. And the ask, I guess, for folks who are really interested in organizing and who are down and have the energy and the capacity and the time, is to come through to that, or to contact me otherwise and join our org so that we can have the capacity, the space, the people power to build some of these alternatives. One of the things that we're sort of playing around with and toying around with now is like a 24/7 emergency crisis support line, where we could like deploy like vehicles and personnel to support people who are navigating, like violent encounters with like whoever the case may be, who are navigating, literally just the cold, violence, overdose, any kind of thing. And so this is what we're trying to build, this is what we're trying to create, but we need people. And so if y'all are down, if that's feeling, cute and cookie to y'all, message me. I'll drop the info below. And yes, much love to you all. Such great organizing that is being talked about, discussed, and like big love. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much to all the organizations that told us a little bit about what they're doing. I think this work is so important. I'm just loving the consistent action and the actual practice of implementing solution. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna just turn it to Omar now.
Yeah, so just wanted to end off by saying we're not just here to talk about issues in our beautiful city, but to actually do something about it. Enough is enough. I'm tired about reading and analyzing and talking about history. Now is the time to make history and continue forward towards fighting for a better future. Thank you, everyone.
Woo! Thanks, Omar.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. It was so empowering to see all the different organizations and just the energy that we've carried throughout on a Zoom meeting. That's crazy to me. I the chat is going nonstop and it's beautiful. So I just wanted to thank you all for being here and thank you for your commitment, whether you hosted a house meeting or attended one or like I said before, even thought about attending one, your presence and energy is so beautiful and we are so grateful for that. And we know there are many more people who want to speak, but we just have so many people. I guess we're just too good at organizing. We got so many people. We unfortunately can't get through everybody. But it's important to recognize that this is only the beginning of the conversation. While the Junta Grande is the end of the Justice Summer program, this is only the beginning of what may be your organizing journey. So I encourage you all to take that extra step, and go reach out to these organizations, take the initiative and volunteer. And now, yeah, exactly. So what we want to do now, I want to just have everyone put your favorite organization in the chat and yeah, they'll follow up with you. Does somebody, Jed, do you think you can give an example of what you should put in the chat?
Absolument. Just putting your full name. Yeah, if you're able to put the full name plus the organization too, just so we have it saved in the notes. Perfect.
Yeah, this is so beautiful, y'all. And yeah, I see people are using the chat to share different resources. If you have Instagram accounts we should follow, just drop it in the chat. Yeah, this is such beautiful momentum and let's keep it going beyond the meeting. You know what I was saying before, keep that initiative going. We need to fight and we need to organize. And it goes further than this. It goes further than the house meeting. It goes further than the Junta Grande,